Welcome to Storytimer. Christine Sikes. Although she was born in Los Angeles, Christine Sikes grew up in northern Indiana and finished high school there. She was attending IU Northwest in 1973. She was staying with her grandmother in Gary over the summer break. She was working a summer job at an accounting firm. On August 23, 1973, she went out with friends. Later that evening, she was abducted from her grandmother's driveway. Her keys were found, left in the driveway, as if she had been grabbed and the keys had been dropped. Ed Hanisch was squirrel hunting a few weeks later on Tuesday, September 11, 1973. He found Christine. She had been stabbed and left in a shallow grave in Union Township in Porter County. I think they should take a look at Raul Rudy Sotelo as a suspect in this murder. Why? Because he viciously murdered Carrie Louise Duncan in September of 1973, not far from where Christine was abducted. On September 27th of 1973, Carrie Louise Duncan was murdered only a few miles from the site of Christine Sikes' murder. Carrie was 12. She was found in a pile of discarded flowers, brush, and clippings at an out-of-the-way part of Ridgelawn Cemetery. Carrie had been beaten and had massive head injuries. Her death certificate does not say whether the injuries to the left or the right side of the head or both. He also ran over her body several times to make sure that he had actually killed her. This is a vicious apex predator. Raul Rudy Sotelo was convicted of her murder in 1974. Enough people had seen him with her right before she disappeared and was later found dead. He also confessed to the murder at the time. In addition, evidence was found on the underside of the car he had been driving. Days later, after her murder, he was still driving around with her blood and tissue all over the underside of his car. His confession about Carrie's murder is very odd. He paints Carrie as sexually aggressive. He said she propositioned him for sex and demanded money. She was 12 years old. Come on. He said she threatened to tell his wife and the police, and he panicked then and killed her by running over her. I think he killed her, but I don't think it happened that way. I think he attempted to rape her in the car. I think she managed to get out and try to run away. And even though she was nearly naked, she attempted to save her life. I think he then hit her multiple times with the car to prevent her from running away. She wouldn't have demanded money for sex. She was only 12 years old. In October of 1974, Sotelo was sentenced to life in prison. He later appealed the conviction in 1976. He did not succeed in this appeal. In December of 1981, Sotelo escaped from the Indiana State Prison at Michigan City. How could he escape? Despite having a violent background and a life sentence for murder, Sotelo was described as a trustee, meaning he could leave prison every day for work. Convicted of a brutal murder, and he was allowed to leave prison to go to work. One day, he just skipped out. I did not find an article saying when he was recaptured, but apparently he was recaptured because in 1988 he appealed again his conviction. This time, the basis of his appeal was that he was young and naive when he was first convicted in 1973 as an 18-year-old, and that he had ineffective counsel. He lost this appeal as well. In 2022, while he was still incarcerated in the state prison at Peru, he slashed a correctional officer across the face with a homemade knife. The correctional officer lived, thankfully. Sotelo was given another 38 years for this attack. I also suspect Sotelo of the 1972 murder of Annie Jean Powell. Her murder happened just a block from his home on Dallas Street. She was murdered at 15th and Colfax. Dallas Street is a tiny little street right off 11th and Colfax. It's extremely close to the site of Annie Jean's murder. He is, without a doubt, a very violent man and is capable of this kind of callous murder. I also think that they should look at Sotelo for the murders of Brenda Banaski and Deborah Marie Gomez. It also happened in the Gary, East Chicago area. in 1972, 1973. Christine Sikes was in the middle of her college career, looking forward to her life, her graduation, her career, time with family, and all of that was taken from her. Rest in peace, Christine Sikes.